rather than because I asked him to let him know who got it. Thank you.
Hey, the lunch is great, I think.
Yeah.
Now I've asked this in videos. Somebody ought to ask, did the steering committee take a vote? No. Support. You can't do that.
The steering committee.
Yeah, John.
Oh, right.
Did they take a vote to support the plan? No.
Nobody voted a vote. Oh, yeah. I didn't know how many people were on the steering committee.
14 plus 5, 23.
Good.
25.
Yeah.
And the majority was chairman.
Well, would you not think they would be receptive to it? What do you think?
I think it probably voting. Probably not everybody voted. I would say 5 group appointees.
Well, if they're not embracing it, how are they going to?
Staff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I made some suggestions to Ross to change some things already myself. Yeah. That I didn't like, you know.
Hey, how do we turn these? I see how. Okay.
Hey, Chris. Chris. 5:30.
Why are you guys here? Aren't you not supposed to be here? Why are you here?
I want to hear what this guy say. I'm part of the.
I like that.
That's why also maybe this can also maybe town hall meeting just for the that's why we're here.
I guess we wanted to do this.
That's why we have to go back into the ballot.
You don't know Hill and Lambert?
Two of them. Down business.
Helen.
Alcohol and, this is all.
She's still. Just told us that's going to work for this
Yeah, unfair. Unfair. This is military. Golf right. Rifles is right. They have one entrance in house. They have 15. No plan for sword except the
until 30 minutes ago.
last thing I changed the actual lunch. Start getting the truck and everything. Can't tell me. One entrance. When you go on there, military, it's all these cross gates.
Ladies and gentlemen, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're waiting for one more commissioner to get here, so we have a quorum. So we have an announcement from Mr. Toledano.
Can everybody hear me okay? I lost a little bit of my voice somewhere along the line. Thank you all for being here for Mr. Daugherty and his group's meeting. It's a very important meeting, and your input is very important. But I just want to make this known to all people who came up to me and said, are we here for the ALM zoning on 1088? The answer is no, not on the subject matter today. Mr. Davis and I were approached by several people, and they said, could you please postpone it and have a community meeting? So we prevailed upon the principals had interest, and Mr. Massagill, good counsel, and they agreed to do that. So that's a great thing, and they're to absolutely complimented for that. That meeting is on May the 23rd, here in this room at 5:30. Refreshments will not be served. Light hors d'oeuvres, perhaps. But in any event, that's going to be May 23rd, 5:30, here in this room. And again, Mr. Crosby and Mr. Massagill agreed with Mr. Davis and I's request to do that. So for those of you who are here for that, I don't want you to be disappointed because it will not be a subject matter tonight. Mr. Doherty, thank you very much.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the St. Tammany Parish Planning Commission special meeting for the New Directions 2040. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Excuse me. Seeger, Ress,
Here.
McInnes,
Here.
Willie, Doherty,
Here.
Barcelona,
Here.
Fitzmaurice,
Here.
Crawford,
Here.
Smale, Randolph,
Here.
Sillo. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Public announcement, please silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to speak, there are speaker cards on the railing over here to the right. Please complete one, turn it in to staff. They'll get it up here. We're going to hold speakers to 3 minutes so we can get everything taken care of. Mr. Liner, you ready to go?
Good evening, Commission members. Thank you for having us here tonight. I did back in April and previous months, we are going to have a presentation tonight about New Directions 2040, which is a comprehensive update to New Directions 2025. So I'll go through a presentation tonight, and we'll take it from there. So just give you a schedule update, where we started, where we are, and I guess what's to take place. Back in the fall, winter 2020, we did the understanding process, data analysis, public outreach and input, and stakeholder interviews. From there, back in the spring and summer of 2021, we did what was called envisioning. Draft vision framework, consideration of growth scenarios, draft strategy development, and in the fall of last year, we did what was called ACT. Committee consideration of the draft plan, public review of comment, consideration by planning and zoning commissioners, sorry, there's a typo there, and parish council. We had a public hearing on January 26th, a 2-month comment period that then ended on April 1st. Introduction to the Planning Commission on April 12th, and then now we're in front of the Commission again for adoption on May 10th. So what is a comprehensive plan? It's a foundational policy document with broad scope. Covers full geographic area jurisdiction, which is unincorporated St. Tammany Parish. Provides the factual basis for land use decision making, promotes informed decision making, it says long time frame, over 20 years. Formed by and accessible for all members of the community, and formally adopted by a local planning commission or legislative body. In this case, statutes govern comprehensive plans in Louisiana. And just quickly, it states, Parish Planning Commission shall make and adopt a master plan for the physical development of the unincorporated territory of a parish. Within St. Tammany Parish, our charter and code of ordinances govern how it's adopted as well. And it states in 2051, the Planning Commission shall have following powers and duties to adopt a master or comprehensive plan or elements thereof. And then obviously there's supporting documentation there as well. Informing the plan overview. So we had 100 public comments, over 50 key stakeholder interviews. We used best practices by the American Planning Association. Reviewed previous plan recommendations of New Directions 2025, 2020 Hazard Mitigation Plan, and Thrive 2023, which is St. Tammany Corporation's Economic Development Plan. There was a 21-member steering committee appointed by the president and the parish council. And we reviewed economic, demographic, and ecological trends of the parish. So who are the steering committee members? As you can see, they're listed here. I'm not going to run through all 21 of them, but they're listed here for your use and for your view. So let's get to the meat of it. What's in the plan? So the document itself has an introduction, which is the role of the comprehensive plan, how the plan was made, parish history and planning context. The next chapter would be vision and guiding principles, goals, policies, and strategies, implementation, and administration. So that's a typical comprehensive plan that we have here. In the introduction, the role of the comprehensive plan states, New Directions 2040 is an update to the parish's previously adopted comprehensive plan, New Directions 2025, a visioning process that the parish police jury initiated in 1998 and adopted by resolution December 1999. New Directions 2040 opportunity for today's St. Tammany Parish residents and business to define what becomes over the next 20 years. The process poses the question, how can St. Tammany Parish continue to grow and develop, preserving a high quality of life, minimizing costs to existing residents, businesses, and environment, and maintaining its character? The comprehensive plan is intended to guide parish officials in making decisions around land use, capital investments, and strategic direction. How the plan made? The vision, guiding principles, goals, and strategies found within New Direction 2040 are the result of an 18-month iterative process conducted collaboratively between the parish administration, a steering committee of appointees representing every parish council district, the Planning and Zoning Commission, dozens of civic, governmental, and business organizations, and a public involvement process that garnered thousands of public comments. Due to COVID-19, we had to adjust back in 2020 and even into 2021, as you know, how we did our outreach, but I feel like it was a very successful opportunity to get public buy-in and feedback. Introduction, how the plan made. 276 surveys were taken. Over the 18 months, we sent out 15 newsletters, held 56 stakeholder interviews. We published a map online. We had 182 pins drop on it, which expressed comments. 270 ideas expressed on those documents. We had over 8,000 unique website visitors, 809 newsletter subscribers, and 166 virtual meeting attendance. In-person meetings were around 250 people. So that's how the plan made in the introduction. So vision and guiding principles would be the next chapter. The vision statement that was developed for this update is, in 2040, St. Tammany Parish is a safe, thriving, and healthy community. Residents take pride in the parish's good governance, beautiful preserved natural environment, resilient transportation network, and growing businesses, where everyone has the opportunity to enjoy an exceptional quality of life. Louisiana and surrounding Gulf Coast communities view St. Tammany as a leader in sustainable growth and living with water. The parish vision articulates in St. Tammany Parish that businesses, residents, stakeholders envision over 20 years. Within those vision and guiding principles, we have 5. We should foster a culture of excellent governance by building trusting relationships between residents and property owners, municipalities, and regional and state partners. Our land use and development should be efficient and sustainable. Our infrastructure network should be connected, reliable, and resilient to safely and efficiently move water, people, freight, and other services. Number 4, our uniquely beautiful natural environment and resources should be protected through vigorous stewardship and sensitive development. And number 5, people in all corners of the parish should have the opportunity to live healthy and prosperous lives. Between 2000 and 2020, the population of unincorporated parish jumped by 46%, from 141,000 to over 206,000. Again, that's unincorporated St. Tammany Parish, not counting municipalities. The plan's framework for development in the next 20 years assumes that the parish will continue to grow its residential population in support of civic, commercial, and other job-providing land uses that support it. During the summer of 2021, the parish invited the community to consider how and where the residential growth should occur. Through a series of public, in-person, and online workshops, participants learned about how land is planned and developed in the parish and gave feedback on 3 growth scenarios. The scenarios illustrate the trade-off in community costs and benefits that occur depending on the different types of patterns of growth and development, and informed determination of a shared vision of how growth ought to occur over the next 20 years. The planned growth patterns reflected in the parish in the plan's future use map seeks to balance growth within the parish. So next chapter will be goals, policies, and strategies. Mobility, transportation, and utility. Infrastructure and facilities include roadways, bridges, drainage systems, trails, and paths. Parking rods, railroads, maritime ports. As you can see, it encompasses it all. Traffic congestion demands improvements to connectivity of the roadway network, especially in the east-west direction. Conducting a complete update of the major street plan is therefore a critical strategy within this plan. We have goals within this section as well of mobility, transportation, and utilities. Goal 1, a connected grid of roadways will reduce congestion and provide multiple routes to destinations. Goal 2, Roadway function, design, capacity be compatible with and support existing and anticipated land uses in adjacent areas. Goal 6, convenient transit and mobility service will be available in local and regional job centers, healthcare services, and other destinations to households without personal vehicles. Goal 7, rail, maritime, and aviation systems will operate safely and efficiently support freight and passenger movement with the parish and across boundaries. The next section is living with nature. Tammany Parish is a coastal community on the Gulf of Mexico and Lake Pontchartrain, one of the largest estuaries in the U.S., and as a result, the parish is subject to tropical storms, subsidence, and sea level rise. More rain falls on St. Tammany Parish and its northern Gulf Coast neighbors than almost anywhere in the U.S., approximately 4 inches a year. Climate scientists predict more intense downpours over shorter time periods. Wetlands and surface water make up about half of the parish's area. Tropical storms, hurricanes, and flooding make up the majority of the disaster declarations are the most severe hazards facing the parish in terms of property damage and impact on the area's economy. The wetland loss, land subsidence, sea level rise will exacerbate the tropical storms and flooding that challenge the area. Local repetitive flooding is a large threat to the parish and a high risk of property damage and medium risk to people. Within Living with Nature, we have Goal 1, Strategy 1, create a parish-wide master plan that identifies and prioritizes flood reduction projects, including flooding from flash, riverine, and coastal storm surge, that deliver the highest protection benefit against financial, social, and environmental costs. Goal 1, Strategy 2, invest in the construction, preservation, and maintenance of green infrastructure. Goal 1, Strategy 4, collaborate with federal, state, and private entities to leverage broader public funding opportunities. Goal 3, Strategy 2, minimize development of into land uses in the floodplains. Goal 3, Strategy 4, participate in regional, state, and interstate planning efforts to properly manage watersheds that cross jurisdictional boundaries, such as the Louisiana Watershed Initiative. The next section then is people and communities. St. Tammany Parish is home to over 17,800 veterans, about 1 of every 10 adults. Approximately 9% of veterans earned income below the poverty line in 2018, and nearly 1 out of 3 veterans in the parish live with a disability. St. Tammany is one of the state's wealthiest parishes, yet approximately 12% of our people, almost 30,000 individuals, live below the poverty line, including 16% of all children. According to 2020 County Health Ranking Report, St. Tammany Parish is first in health factors, such as diet, exercise, access to care, social and economic factors, physical environment, and second in health outcomes, length, quality of life. Goal 1, our communities, landscapes, culture, history, and traditions will be preserved and strengthened. Goal 2, our neighborhood design will support physical activity and healthy living for people all ages and abilities, helping maintain our status as the state's healthiest communities. The next section is business and economy. Nearly 13,000 businesses and employers provide approximately 87,000 jobs in St. Tammany Parish. Between 2002 and 2018, St. Tammany gained over 35,000 jobs. Half of employed residents typically commute out of the parish to work. The parish's proximity to 2 international airports, over 20 local airports, Interstates 10, 59, 55, make it strategically positioned. Within this section, we have Goal 1. The parish will designate land served by supportive infrastructure for use by business and industries. Goal 2. St. Tammany Parish track and grow businesses that expand the parish's tax base and provide living wage jobs to residents of varying skill levels. Goal 3, local and small business will receive efficient and supportive parish services. And Goal 4, a productive, educated, and competitive workforce will be available to current and potential businesses. The next chapter, land use and development. Demand for residential growth remains strong. Since 2015, about 1,200 new single-family homes were permitted on average each year, with the lowest in 2009 at just over 500 to the highest in 2020 at nearly 1,600. St. Tammany Parish homes are predominantly owner-occupied, 78%, compared to statewide average at 66.5%. State and parish-owned parks and wildlife refuge areas include the Pearl River Wildlife Management Area and so on. Goal 1, our land use, land development, and land development decision-making policies and processes will be fair, transparent, and accessible to all parish stakeholders. Goal 2, new development and redevelopment will be orderly, carefully planned, and predictable. Goal 3, the character of existing residential areas, successful commercial and manufacturing and logistics areas, expansive rural landscapes, and sensitive ecological areas will be preserved. Goal 4, land and buildings will be developed in ways that lower the risk and incidence of flooding and flood damages caused by rainfall and storm surge. Goal 5, adequate infrastructure and utilities will be available in all areas permitted for new development. Goal 6, new development and redevelopment will be environmentally sustainable. Goal 7, resilient building and land development practice will reduce or eliminate the potential impact of flood and wind hazards, particularly critical facilities. Goal 8, a variety of safe, affordable, and attractive housing types will meet the needs of our diverse community. Goal 9, Our rolling stock will be maintained in stable condition with minimal vacant, blighted, or abandoned properties. The future land use map, what is it? The purpose of the future land use map is to provide decision makers and stakeholders with a tool for understanding our community's preferred pattern of growth. The future land use map illustrates patterns of historic settlement and preferred growth in an intertwined series of historic town centers, suburbanized corridors, and abundant countryside and wilderness. It shows generalized areas designated for future land uses by broad categories. Neither the FLUME, which is the future land use map, nor the plan text constitute a zoning map or policy. Features 11 broadly defined future land use categories, proposes 5 sub-areas for refined planning, denotes planned funded ways improvements and desired unfunded improvements, includes an area of special hazard, 100-year floodplain. So what are the future land use map categories? In our least intense, we have protected, which is ecological sensitive lands and wetlands, coastal conservation, areas within the parish's coastal zone, rural agricultural, very low intensity uses, and parks and open space. Then we to residential. Low intensity, minimum 1 acre lots, medium intensity, maximum 1 acre lots, high intensity, which can be garden homes, townhomes, multifamily developments. Then we get into higher intensity uses such as mixed use, which is kind of what it sounds like. It's a mix of uses that support each other. Institutional, government, schools, things like that. Commercial, speaks for itself. Manufacturing and logistics, large scale, high intensity uses with access to infrastructure. So those are the 11 the land use map categories, not to be confused with our 50 or so zoning classifications. So how does these land use categories stand out on the map? Conservation protected accounts for 154.1 square miles, which is 98,000 acres, or 18.5% of the parish. Coastal conservation, 87.2 square miles, 55,000 acres, or 10.4% of the parish. Parks and open space, 5.6 square miles, 500 acres, or 0.6% of the parish. Rural and agriculture, 315.5 square miles, 201,000 acres, or almost 38% of the entire parish on future land use map. Residential low intensity, 95.5 square miles, 61,000 acres, or 11.5% of the parish. Residential medium intensity, 75.3 square miles, 48,000 acres, or 9% of the land use map. Residential high intensity, 0.4 square miles, 256 acres, or 0.3 of the future land use map. Mixed use, 59.6 square miles, 38,000 acres, or 7.1%. Institutional, 2.4 square miles, 1,500 acres, or 0.3%. Commercial, 10.4 square miles, 6,600 acres, and 1.2%. Manufacturing and logistics, 26.6 square miles, 17,000 acres, or 3.2% of the future land use map. That's how the future land use map categories are broken down within the parish. There's a picture right there of the future land use map. What's listed on there is some, classification or categories, some notation for floodplains, growth management areas, planned roadway projects, sub-area plans that are being asked for within this document. This is an example of implementation table. You know, how do we achieve everything I just read very quickly? And I meant that I read it very quickly, not how we achieve these things very quickly. This is a very, difficult process to achieve. Implementation table, near-term actions to be taken in the next 5 years. Then there's also actions to be taken ongoing or annual basis. And then it shows who should fund it, or who could fund it, we can find those fundings, and how it supports the goals, strategies, and the document itself. So the administration implementation, updating plan. So as we know, New Directions 2025 was adopted in 1999 and was never looked at again since. We can't allow that to happen again. So within this plan, we have Planning and Development Department should conduct annual progress reports, communicate results to the Planning Commission, Parish Council, and the public. We should do that annually. The Planning Commission should consider amendments to the comprehensive plan's goals, strategies, implementation table, future lease map, and hold one or more public meetings to solicit the opinions of citizens from throughout the community. It says no more than once per year, but that seems, typically I see that's done either once a year or every other year. So it depends on how dynamic the parish is. This parish probably needs it annually. Commission should conduct a thorough review, revision, and update of the comprehensive plan at least once every 5 years. Best practices state that this document right here, New Directions 24, or the previous document, New Directions 2025, should be completely updated every 5 years. We're 20 years past, or 15 years past. We should do that from our previous plan. Associated projects of New Directions 2040, the Unified Development Code, right. The Unified Development Code was last updated in 2009, 2010. Since then, tax changes needed for clarification and consistency were made on an as-needed basis. I'm not going to read all this. It is just a Unified Development Code update. We're about 50% complete right now. The Wetlands Planning and Policy Guide. The Wetlands Plan is recommended by the St. Tammany Parish Local Code Plan to prevent the further loss or degradation of valuable wetlands. Wetlands are an important part of the ecological, hydrological, social, and economic values and critical part of the environment by supporting a high level of biological productivity, diversity, providing habitat, and maintaining hydrological regimes. We're about 50% complete on that project as well. Multi-Modal Transportation Plan. It's in budgeting and scope with council right now, so we anticipate, it says in summer of 2022, but it's looking like more like the fall of 2022, but we're hoping to get that started as soon as possible. And a comprehensive drainage plan, which St. Tammany Parish does not have or has never had, and that began February of 2022, so just started this year, just a couple months ago. And with that, I ran through that presentation pretty quick, but I know we have a lot of people here who would like to speak. I wanted to speak about what's in the plan, what the plan is for, and if we have any questions, I'm going to leave it to y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Liner. I want to just emphasize that this is a living document. It's not cast in concrete, and it can be changed as we go forward. So, don't think that because it's written here, that's the way it's going to be. It can be amended and changed. We're going to allow 3 minutes per speaker. I've got a card here on Arthur Weller. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I reside at 9 Hunters Creek Road in Slidell. Because this plan will be used as guidance for future zoning, we wish to call your attention to a very large parcel that is designated high-intensity residential in the future land use map. It stands out in a sea of medium-intensity residential. The entire area, including subject parcel, currently is zoned A3. This large parcel is located northwest of the intersection of Highway 1091, that's Robert Road North, and Haas Road. The subject parcel is inconsistent with, on the future land use plan's development goals, Goal 5, Strategy 2, which deals with traffic, because the carrying capacity of Highway 1091 would be overwhelmed by this high-intensity parcel if it's developed as proposed. Capacity for Highway 1091 would be difficult to expand because it's a narrow, winding, two-lane road without much shoulder width. Subject parcel also is inconsistent with Goal 6, Strategy 4, because increased drainage would flow into the already overburdened W15 canal. Our home is located south of the subject parcel, and we rely on the W15 for drainage from our neighborhood. Those express my concerns. What I respectfully ask is that my comments to not be pinned or flagged to this high-intensity parcel on the future land use map, so that any subsequent rezoning from current A3 would take these concerns into account. And because, as you expressed, Mr. Chairman, it is a living document, so hopefully this will be given proper attention at the appropriate time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, do you have something to give me? This is being recorded, so we can watch it, but if you have something to give me.
Carlo Hernandez. Good evening.
Good evening. Carlo Hernandez. I want to urge the Commission to take its time in reviewing and adopt the 2040 comprehensive plan. I believe revisions should be made to the plan. In particular, reductions should be made to the manufacturing and logistics areas, and reduction should be made to the mixed-use areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Wilson.
Andrew Wilson, 425 Lafitte Street. Good evening. As I view this particular map, it appears that basically it's setting up a developer's theme park. It's going to transform St. Tammany Parish into a theme park for developers to come here and cut down trees, destroy all the scenic waterways, and put an industrial corridor right in the parish. This makes no sense. These AML creatures, one of which you considered apparently in October of 21, that is October 19th of 21, you approved a 1.5 million square foot footprint for a particular project when that particular zoning classification is not available under St. Tammany Parish ordinances. In this particular situation, looking at this map, it appears that there is no real valid planning, drainage, traffic, or environmental studies for this particular plan to go forward. Considerations of the public's health, safety, and welfare have not been taken into consideration at all. This is just being pushed through. It's the question of how much development, massive development, or even more massive development. No action alternatives are not being considered so that there are areas that are set aside and that will survive from this type of development. The end result is that it will transform the parish from a beautiful pastoral place to live to an industrial hub, industrial corridor with huge highways to serve that hub. I ask that you table this particular plan until the parish has had, the people of the parish, not parish officials, have had an opportunity to look at this particular plan, to investigate it, and that plan studies have been undertaken that will address all the other factors that are not being addressed in this. It's just simply a colorful map that is setting up these AML districts. In particular, I ask that you reconsider this whole idea of putting up these huge AML districts throughout the parish. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all are taking your time. Now, if you keep applauding, you're just eating into somebody's speaking time. Joan Simon?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Joan Simon. I'm a 38-year resident. Sorry, I'm too short. This always happens to me. I'm a 30-year resident of St. Tammany Parish. Quite frankly, I find it astonishing that our government has put forth this plan, which, and looking at it more tonight, there's so many things in it that haven't been done and been addressed by other speakers. I want to ask why anyone here would cast a yes vote for a land grab, and that's how I see it, that would ruin a parish already overrun with mounting problems, and everybody here knows it. The new Directions 2040 plan is a bad direction for this parish as it stands right now. Have you met anybody who's ever told you how much they love traffic, air pollution, water pollution, flooding? So I doubt it. All of these problems worsen exponentially if this plan, as done and written, is adopted. And I'm talking about the ML specifically, because it's all part of that map, which I just saw just now. I find it frightening to envision 24/7 diesel trucks overrunning our parish, clogging up already dysfunctional roadways, polluting our air and dripping fuel on impermeable masses of concrete, while idling at the mega factories possibly proposed for this AML plan. An awful flush into our already polluted rivers and streams. And I happen to have one back of my house, several hundred feet back. Have you ever lived in an industrial area and breathed the air? I have, and it's not something I care to repeat, nor did I come to St. Tammany Parish for that. Last week, I was taking my daughter, who is a cancer survivor, to the ER. On my way home, I thought about how frightening this same scenario would be for me and anybody else in the new St. Tammany Parish you seem to be proposing. How quickly could emergency vehicles make it to hospitals and ERs with roadways constantly overrun? How would we handle an emergency at one of these huge facilities? We do not have resources we need now, let alone then. The proponents of this plan can paint a rosy scenario for this direction's idea. But in the end, the land use plan at this stage in the game is of no use to anyone save the few who will profit from it. Those of you on this commission and all of our elected officials live here too. Please think about that when you cast your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Carolyn Monteith.
Thank you. My name is Carol Monteith, and I reside at 321 Coffee Street in Midville. I appreciate all the hard work and time that's gone into developing this plan. However, I do request that you reconsider the amount of land that is being proposed for industrial, specifically the AML. We have a shortage of housing already. This land would be much better suited for residential than AML. My background is environmental engineering sciences. I worked for 36 years managing environmental impacts for a large manufacturing facility. I'm Manville's representative to the St. Tammany Levee Drainage and Conservation District. Water is my passion, and when I look at this 7,000 acres of land immediately north of I-12, slated for manufacturing, and when I think about the runoff potentially from those sites, even with retention, detention, green development, there's still going to be a huge amount of runoff. All that water ultimately drains through Mandeville, the Ponchatoula and Chinchuba watersheds. Much of those watersheds are already developed with residential, and they can't take additional water. Other concerns I have about the significant amount of industrial land that's being proposed is air pollution. I don't know if you get air quality alerts, but already we've had several in the month of May by ozone. Ozone formed by the reaction of emissions from automobiles and trucks, NOx and hydrocarbons. It's a significant health hazard, and with additional industrial development, we're going to have additional industrial traffic and additional air quality alerts. Traffic, again, is a concern. When I read the entire plan, I see a lot of good verbiage on living with nature and preserving the beautiful area we have. And our heritage here in St. Tammany is pure water, clean air. That's why most of us live here. I urge you to please reconsider and totally reduce or eliminate this advanced manufacturing category. Thank you.
Thank you. Wrigley's Estates PUD, Paul Mayard.
Mr. Morone.
Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Daugherty, members of the commission, Paul Morone. Mr. Liner did a good job of kind of laying out that the plan that's before you tonight is supposed to be a general plan and not supposed to be specific as to identify certain properties and certain zones. That would be a later step in this process. So my comment tonight really is just for preservation on the record, not asking the commission to do anything or make any changes. I represent Mr. Segura, who is the owner and developer of Wrigley's Estates on the southern end of Slidell. That is zoned as a PUD. On this map, that area is identified as mixed use, which I think is an appropriate designation for that site. Because with that PUD, there are a number of different uses that are currently permitted. My only statement on the record this evening is that, of course, as the process continues and at later dates we do get to more specific items and specific properties, we would want to make sure, or we would argue that those specific permitted uses that are in the PUD today should be carried forward and permitted in any new zoning that might take place on property. Again, not that the mixed use is inappropriate, we think it is, but minds disagree on what mixed use means, and we would just like to see those uses that are permitted and have been permitted for many years on that property remain going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. David Jones.
David Jones, 2140 Hampshire Drive, Slidell, Louisiana. Only a quick question because we have a lot of eloquent speakers thus far. I have a document here that shows permitting single-family residence since 2008 at 800 all the way up to 1,800 now, last year. if you took that and go over the 18-year period that this plan spans, that's another 32,526 permits for single-family homes. Is the document taking into account this level of development or not? Now, I appreciate the fact that it's dynamic, and it should be, but all I heard were a lot of things about plans and goals, plans and goals, plans and goals. I've heard so many of those in my career. To have specifics. What exactly are you planning on doing? And how are you going to address these permitting? Second thing, and again, a lady mentioned it, and you mentioned about the climatological, pardon my French there, change that's on us. What's going to happen when you're in a major storm event like an Ida or a Katrina again, and we're trying to evacuate our families, and we cannot get on the highways to get out of here because it's congested with all this development and all this traffic. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Terry Lewis Stevens. Yes.
Anybody? Hi, Terry Lewis Stevens, 725 Park Road in Covington. Oh no, show those people. You guys know what it looks like. You do. And first of all, I'm going to say I'm really kind of horrified that you don't have this map up there, out here, somewhere posted. So you're supposed to be voting on it tonight. Just a couple of things. First of all, the document. Yeah, it's a living document. You can say that. However, every time before this, and there's an example of it in the bottom of this, poster, the prior plan does not look like this plan now. It is so far removed from what we've come from to what you're proposing. They're like night and day, night and day. And what's motivating this? What is motivating this besides profit? It is all profit motivated. It's undeniable. And say that it's a living document. If this council approves it, which would be unlike what happened with the 2025 plan, because the council never approved it. However, every single time a zoning change came before the board, the staff would have a report that said, based on the 2025 plan, blah, 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 blah. The other thing I'm going to point out, and I know that my time is limited, I think that you need to schedule another meeting, the discussion, because enough people that wanted to come and speak tonight are not going to be able to. I think that's really critical. The other point is, this body, in addition to the council members, your obligation is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the parish. That's all you're tasked to do. That's all we've asked you to do. That's all legislatively what you're tasked to do here. It says so in the Home Rule Charters as your special power. That's all. And it doesn't say, it says the right, the power, authority to pass ordinances to protect and preserve the general welfare, safety, health, peace, and good order of the parish. It doesn't say for profit. It doesn't say for profit. It's wrong of you to consider this plan on this day, or quite frankly, the amount of AML is unconscionable. You've already passed some. Even the plan that is put before you tonight is not even correct. I've got a packet of information that will substantiate that. It will further expand upon the 1.1 million you should never have approved, already at the corner of 1088 and 12. And it goes even further to talk about there's another AML already approved project south of I-12 at 434, 70 acres. It's been on the freaking map. So this map that you're being asked to approve tonight is not even correct. So if that's missing at 70 acres, how much more is not on that map? I urge you to postpone tonight. Do not approve this plan. Do not recommend it or vote it no. Thank you.
I have one more card. Paul Branch that wants to speak on the 833 acres for I-12 and 1088. This particular case will be heard on May the 23rd at 5:30.
Yes, sir, I understand that, and I appreciate it, and I'm going to relinquish my time because there are people who are more eloquent about this than I am. I simply want to let you know that we moved here for quality of life. Please reconsider the AML. Please reconsider New Directions 2040. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We've, okay, these are the one. All right. We've gone through the speaker cards where the people wanted to speak. I'm going to close to the public. Pardon? No. No, I'm closing to the public and that's it. I am closing it to the public and that is it.
It should go to the voters.
Let me, what's your name? Pardon? And who was the other lady? Suzanne on Jack Lloyd Road.
Yeah, just get this.
What about Michelle on Jack Lloyd? I'll fill that too.
John Martin.
And we'll, allow 1 minute to speak. Please state your name and address.
Yes, sir. My name is Suzanne Manette. I reside at 2249 Hoffman Road in Mandeville, Louisiana. And I just wanted to say that I've been reviewing the map. I know it's a plan for the future for 2040. I'm in support of it. I know that a lot of people are against the industrial area, but from what I understand, that area isn't a less populated area right now it stands. And it looks to me like, I know people are going to keep moving over. We have to have a plan to handle the continued population growth. And it looks to me that a lot of work went into this. I've been a resident for 40 years here, and I reviewed the plan exactly how I would see the area's development, knowing what I know about the parish. So I just wanted to, I know a lot of people are going to like me, but I think it's a good plan, and I think it did a lot of work, and I think it's reasonable. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Joycelyn. Okay.
Dr. Martin.
Doc Martin, you wish to speak? I don't see a card.
Yes, quick, real quick. John Martin, Goodby Civic Association. I want to thank Ross Liner and all the people who worked with him, worked hard. I know they worked hard because I was on 2025. And I think this is absolutely great that what they did. However, I am very concerned on that AML, and there's no information. We don't have any specifics. How many people would an area like that hire? What would the pay be? What kind of manufacturing are you talking about? Is it just storing stuff and then shipping it to New Orleans? We don't have any information. I think people need all kinds of information because right now the AML doesn't sound good to me. And I think we need all the information, which don't have the specifics. And honestly, I think once we get all of the information out, because I think these guys worked their faces off to get this stuff for us, but once we get all this information out, then I think perhaps what we should do is have a vote by the people and let the people vote up, down.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
All right. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? The lady over here on the right. You got 1 minute.
Good evening. Yeah, I'm in agreement with most of the folks that are not happy about the AML. And I realize that we need to bring jobs to the parish, but I just don't understand how rezoning that huge area of permeable cement and rooftops of warehouses and commercial buildings, I just don't understand how that is not going to cause more flooding. I mean, we already have terrible flooding issues, and I just don't see how packed into one area that's feasible.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Mr. Benson?
Good evening, Dr. Andy Benson. I'll try to be real quick. I agree with practically everything that's been said in opposition to this current prospective pathway for our parish. I realize also that there was a map that was produced by a joint citizens quasi-governmental group that worked for about 2 years to come up with a map that was submitted, which was shown to you in January, and somehow between January and April it radically changed without any input from people that I know. What is progress? To me, progress is people who want to come here. This is a bedroom community. That is progress. It's growing. 34,000 people, according to Mr. Jones, are going to come to our parish between now and 2040. They're going to put down 20%. They can live here, raise families, build nice houses. That is progress. Selling our land, our political influence, our future is a perdition, and that's where we're going. So
Thank you.
Stop it. Thank you very much.
There was another person over here on my left that raised their hand.
She was pointing at him.
Oh, okay. You were pointing at Andy?
Yep.
Okay. All right. All right. Come forward. State your name and address, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Denise Taveney. I live at 7244 Gulfin Street in Covington, Louisiana. I came from the South Shore to come to the North Shore for the life that it promised. And I'll tell you, I have moved twice now because of flooding issues. As we develop, as a federal employee, I say, as we develop, we need to be informed to vote. We need to do flood mitigation studies. We need to do our slab on fill studies before we vote to make any progress. And I'll say, having a plan that is a living document, as a communications director, we use that term a lot. And what it means is it's a document that's got plenty of holes in it. It makes it very easy for the full-time attorneys who work for these developers to find ways to get around the law and enforce. That's what happened with my suit against DSLD. It had too many holes in it.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
please don't vote for something you're not really informed on yet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing no one, I'm going to close it to the public, and I'm going to bring it back to the commission. All right, we've heard the folks' comments. We've gone through the proposed new directions 2040. Do I have a motion to approve or deny? Commissioner Fitzmore.
Put a motion forward to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmore to approve. Commissioner McInnes.
Wow. It has been a long, hard road, and I know a lot of people have worked very hard on this, and citizens, parish representatives. I guess I have some general questions, and then I had some specific edits that I suggested. I'm going to jump to the specific edits first. Dave, I submitted some to you and to Ross to add more information about, lands. Where do we go with that?
We just include them into the parish profile, is where it's going to be?
Well, they're not all parish profile.
Okay, well, I mean, I think that email came through around 4 this afternoon or 4 o'clock, so I wasn't able, we spoke
Well,
earlier, but I think.
No, I had sent these several days ago, for the edits on the plan part.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean,
So should I bring them up now, or
you can
how?
bring them up now if you want. If you read them into the record, that's fine. You email them to me, to Chairman Doherty. They will be included as he stated. We just didn't have time to physically get it done before the meeting.
Okay. Man, I hate to dive to the weeds and specific editing. These have been shared with the commission, correct, Dave? So do y'all want me to read them, commissioners, or can we?
I'm going to ask.
See if there's a second on Mr. Fitzmaurice's motion before we continue.
Right, there should be second before we have discussion.
Right. Do you wish to second?
I do not at this point.
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
I just wanted to hear discussion by the commissioners first, before
We
a
need a
second.
second in order to do the discussion.
Well, I'll bow out.
Okay, Commissioner Redd.
I just mainly have comments about the plan. Not ready to skin at this point.
Commissioner Oxilla.
We heard a lot of people talking, and we understand where you're coming from, and everything. But it's time to do a vote, and just because someone made a motion to approve doesn't mean the vote can go that way. So I second it.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Truxillo. Now, I'll back to Commissioner Ress.
Yeah, there's a couple things that, some concerns. The growth of the AML that people have brought up, I don't know, since we don't really have that in the parish at the point that it's obvious to me that we have something like that, the amount of area that we've chosen in the map to designate for future AML might be a little premature. I think the one area that we've already approved, that's going before the council at 1088, I mean, I was supportive of that, and I'm still supportive of it. A lot of people not like that. I live along the Chinchuba, and I'm not as concerned as some of the things I've read. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So I'm willing to live with that. The thoughts that let's put one in. Let's see what it means. People talk about all the truck traffic. You know, if they put this AML in Tangipahoa, they're still coming across I-12. If they put it in Mississippi, they're still coming across I-12. The traffic, it's just a matter maybe not all of them are coming, but I-12 is the main thoroughfare. People talk about, I moved here for this reason. Well, I bet if I went back 40 years and found people that grew up here, they'd probably say they didn't want all you here to begin with. I moved here 30-some years ago. I could tell you there's a whole lot more that moved here after me that I wish weren't here today too. But I don't see it changing. I don't see St. Tammany slowing down. And if you don't have a plan in place, and to keep the 2025 plan, because if we don't go forward with something new, we're going to have the old. And the old hasn't been working very well. One of the things I talked to staff about was, would the Unified Development Code support this plan? To me, that's critical. Because if we don't have code written that supports the concepts in the plan of clean water, the way the sensitivities to the environment, if the code doesn't support it, then it means nothing. Because we've all sat here and people have said, first thing somebody comes up with and says, hey, in 2025, it says we can they'll bring that map up and say, you could put an AML here, or you can put this here, and that almost seals the deal, it seemed like, because I'm on the other side of that. But the code is being rewritten at the same time, and I've been told we'll support and we'll get a chance to review that again. So to me, that sounds right. The road plan, I don't think, there isn't any in here. So people that said, there's all the current projects are in here, but there isn't any new, really. All the things that are in here are things we all know about, or most of us know about. If you look at the plan, it shows the road projects in the plan. But there's not enough there to meet our needs. So, but there is a plan in the plan to develop a road plan. Got to have a plan, but you got to start somewhere. The zoning of the northern part of the parish, I still think, and I've said it over and over again, I think we're missing the boat. Every meeting we have for zoning, people come to us and say, boy, I bought 5 acres up here on 40 or somewhere on the northern part of the parish, and it was my retirement home, and they built it right on 40, or they built it right on a state road that's a main state road that's nice country secluded right now. But I don't know where else to put commercial properties if you're not putting them on a state road. They're our main transportation hubs. But yet we're zoned for residential, and we're setting people up. I still believe that. I just think by not zoning sections of the rest of the parish for what the future might look like, we're setting people up to build homes and end up with a gas station next to them. And I tell you, I wouldn't want that, because we hear people constantly saying, I bought this property around me was all zoned A1, A2, and now you want to put in something else. But as the parish grows, if we don't have a forward thought on that, we're missing the boat. I also not sure if the plan supports reduced development in already stressed areas of the parish due to inadequate drainage, roadway infrastructure. Examples being west of Madisonville. It's overtaxed right now. We got problems over there. We hear it all the time. Is there a plan to fix the infrastructure, or are we just going to keep building? In my mind, the moratorium concepts take place. I know there's a moratorium for part over there, but there's other parts of the parish that are probably stressed for other reasons that maybe moratoriums need to be put in place for those areas. But if you're looking for a plan that covers everything in the parish, we'll never get written, because there's too many details. There's too many details. And using the 2025 plan doesn't work for me, because it's already working. So with the thoughts that the staff has spent the time and their plans of supporting this document through continued written plans, with the parish-wide moratorium that's been put in place and potentially can keep going, I don't know what else you're looking for. We all have a different vision. I know 5 years ago, people said, oh, there's no jobs here for my kids. They have to move to some other state to get it. And now somebody wants to put places in to get jobs. And we say, oh, no, we don't want no jobs. We want all houses. I don't know how you satisfy everybody. And I think a mix. But do we need much AML? Maybe not. Not until we know more. I would like to know more about AML development as far as, let's do one. I think the place we picked looked appropriate to me, still feels that way. Other people may disagree. I can live with it. I'm willing to stand behind my thoughts on that. But I would like to see the AML part of the zoning map in here reduced in size until we know more. Thank you.
Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Just to expound a little bit on Commissioner Reyes' comments, 2 things. Just because something is shown in here does not mean it's going to happen the way it's shown in here. You can laugh and disagree and be rude, and that's fine. We didn't laugh at you when you spoke, so I'd appreciate if you didn't do it to us, please. Everything in here will have to go back to zoning, unless the zoning's already in place. And I assure you, other than the one area, there is no other AML zoning in place. So we have an opportunity to look at it again. But I agree, you have to give it a chance, see what happens. We need things in this parish that we don't have now. There are certain areas to put them that won't interfere with how we live. So I just wanted that comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Barcelona.
Question for Matt.
Good evening.
Good evening, Matt. In the plan for manufacturing and logistics areas, it says they were basically located in these areas because they're away from sensitive environmental areas. Is that correct?
Out of the coastal zone, yes.
Okay. And it's not near existing or planned residential areas?
Correct.
And close to a transportation corridor?
Adjacent to the interstate, correct.
So in your opinion, this should be the real land use?
Yeah.
Considering the I-10 interchange that's already built, right there to handle
Yeah, and just Matt Rufo with Asakura Robin, project manager on the comprehensive plan update. And yes, that's what we explained at the last meeting here, was that we heard over and over again that people say that the parish doesn't invest enough in infrastructure. We also heard that, we can't continue to build housing the way we've been building housing. And we're looking for ways to where the parish has the revenue streams, appropriate for supporting the infrastructure that people are demanding. And so we worked hard to find areas that would meet the needs of potential large-scale employers, and that means essentially really good access to interstate. It also means not being located next to existing residential areas. And so kind of limits the areas, certainly. The western part of the parish, the eastern part of the parish, Covington, Slidell, a lot of existing residential developed areas. And so we worked hard to find an area that would be outside of interfering with those areas.
So this may be potentially the only area, right? That
Yeah, and we also
this type of industry. Or?
Right. And so looking at the number of interchanges right now that serve areas that aren't already serving entrenched residential neighborhoods, there aren't too many of them. And so just to be clear too about the point that Commissioner Fitzmaurice made about drawing an area that's however many square miles of any given use does not instantly mean that that use is going to be developed there. What it does do is it creates a large buffer zone around which some industry could be located without the threat of someone coming in and building a residential neighborhood in an area that's one of the remaining areas to develop for those industrial type tenants that provide good jobs and contribute to the tax base.
So with this type of land use, there's a potential to
In the area plan, yeah. Ross made another good point, which that there are a handful of areas in the parish that are susceptible to change, that are already growing or that will be growing quickly. And in any comprehensive planning process, you're not able to drill down to the level of attention for some of those areas.
Right.
And for that reason, like every other comprehensive plan done around this country, is this plan recommends a handful of what are called sub-area plans. And the plan includes very clear language that instructs the parish to immediately develop the sub-area plans that give the opportunity for continued refinement of the future land use map through continued stakeholder engagement and analysis of physical conditions that simply isn't feasible at the parish scale throughout a comprehensive plan process.
So just to be clear, we're not changing the zoning of this area.
The comprehensive plan does not change zoning. The comprehensive plan provides a tool for understanding bird vision of growth and provides guidance to yourselves and information to the broader community. But no, by adopting it, it does not change zoning. Zoning will have to be changed the same process that's always been used.
So with I-12A, with the interchange, that's probably being underutilized, I think. I mean, that's a major freight corridor.
Right.
Right now, it doesn't seem like we're taking advantage of the connection to I-12, business-wise.
Yeah.
It's happening into the regional, network.
Yeah.
National network.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good.
Also, I guess it was a comment from a resident. What's in the plan? It says, I want a place that attracts clean jobs. I want my child to be able to live here and have a good, clean, high-tech job. So that's one of the comments in the plan.
Yeah, you heard a number of comments
this
that
type of
relate to
area
that.
could potentially generate high-tech jobs. Is that?
Certainly. Again, the category descriptions are pretty broadly to allow commissioners and decision makers flexibility to determine whether or not a potential use fits into that category. And we heard over and over again that young people either need to commute out of the parish or move out of the parish altogether to find attractive living wage paying jobs. So by locating large employment areas in the center of the parish, we're also providing more access to a larger portion of the parish by locating it centrally.
So right now, half the people, 50% of the people have to work outside the parish? Is that
Ross mentioned that earlier, actually, about 51% of current people who reside in the parish and who have a job have to leave the parish to access that job.
So if we have better paying jobs here in the parish, I mean,
Right, right. It could reduce the number of miles people have to travel to access their jobs, certainly. Keep people inside the parish and, yeah.
Spend money here in the
And spending
parish.
money here, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
All right.
Commissioner McInnes.
Hi, I'm back again. I'm just going to start over. I viewed this plan from front to back, and I made a number of comments on it, most of which were accepted by the staff and by Matt and his crew. And I think in the end, it's a pretty good product. And I can say that as one who was heavily involved in 2025 as the co-chair of the Environment Committee. And I thought the process was more streamlined this time, and we have a more succinct product that I think will be used more than, with 2025, we have an environmental report, we had a roadway report, and we had like 6 or 7, I don't know how many committees that did reports. And I'm not sure those were really looked at once it was all done. What was mostly looked at was the map, the land use map that resulted. And so one of my focuses was to get as much on the map as possible. But the parish profile, the background information is more succinct. I think it will be used more. But I do want to thank Ross and his staff that worked on this, Helen, and also Matt and his crew. I think in general it's a pretty good plan. No, not everything I want is in it, and there's stuff in it I don't want. But I realize there were a lot of people on the committee that helped framework this. There's a lot of voices in the parish that contributed, and they're trying to listen to all the voices. And so that's a challenge. If you would put yourself in that situation, it is a big challenge. One thing I wanted was we give a lot of language to critical and sensitive areas, but no, we don't have a plan to identify what they are, where they are. We have over 175 rare plants, animals, and habitats in St. Timothy, more than any parish in this state. It's not reflected in this plan. It's mentioned, but it's not mapped, and it's not even a task. I'd like to see that in future iterations. But I think, and there were some significant changes, additional, the industrial and additional mixed use that are on this current iteration. But I think in general, we have more or less a plan we can work with. I do want to propose amendments to this plan before we vote on it. May I?
Yes, legally, you can amend the plan. How we go about that technically may be difficult without having something for the commissioners to look at, but we can certainly try. I have not seen any of the proposed amendments yet to help you with that process, but legally speaking, you can amend the master plan.
Well, I apologize because it was my understanding that it provided to all the commissioners about a week ago, and that there would be copies printed out and made available today. So I do have one copy. These are relatively minor edits to emphasize wetlands, as protecting wetlands as well as floodplains as a vision, as a goal. To make sure we have buffers around our conservation areas. It's too difficult to illustrate on a map, but I want to make clear that we want to have gradual, intense land use around our conservation areas and sensitive areas. So it just tweaks the language there. And we are adding additional hydric soils map. in the profile. So it's not major plans, and I'm also asking that the profile be made an appendix of the plan so that we always have the background information along with the plan. It's not on a shelf separate from the plan. They're together as one document. So I'm going to submit these, Dave, to you.
Let me,
Chairman?
And
now, Ross wants to comment.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, let me.
Yeah, we agree with the amendments. They were presented. We just didn't physically have time to update the documents. We did the appendix, added that as well. I think they were just editing the document, staff just didn't have time, but we're in agreement. I believe Chairman Doherty and
Right,
Patrick, Commissioner.
I'm pretty sure I sent them all out.
That's correct, and I'll give you my assurance right now that it will be completed, just, again, staff have time.
Okay.
Now, if you want to read them,
I mean,
You can submit them, I mean, we have.
I
we
hate to-
have them.
Yeah, it's just wordsmithing. It's not major changes. The one major change amendment I would like to add in addition to these comments is that I agree with Commissioner Ress that the one AML that this commission has improved should be the only one on the map, not all of the others. And the reason is, like that has been said, we don't know what all is coming along with this. These have not been before the commission. This was not on the original plan, and it doesn't mean those others can't happen. As you said.
But those, and Ross, correct me if I'm wrong, those are put there as a potential AML, okay? So that if somebody's looking out of the area and sees an AML along I-12 and it just fits their need, they won't go to Tampa or Mississippi or someplace else. Yes.
And it's also called out on the future land use map as a sub-area plan that's needed. So we identify that area, for lack of a better term, special area of concern that we want to look and dive deeper into. We could not do that with this process, this amount of money that we had and this amount of time. So do we continue to look at that? Absolutely. It's on the map. It's a sub-area plan. It identifies the sub-area plans should work toward, and that's it.
Well, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Chairman, but also know that once something is on that map, it will be held up and used. It will be.
Not necessarily.
It is our vision.
It's got to come back.
Well, no, but it says this is the parish's vision, and it's better than not being on the map. The map, if you're saying being on the map is not meaningful, then what is the whole process is not meaningful. This map is meaningful, and it is the most used part of the plan. 2025, you use the map. So I'm saying this has alarmed a lot of residents. I think that maybe we should take a step back and be a little more conservative. No, I'm just saying we need a happy medium than maybe the position that's presented in the map. And the easiest way is to just go with the one we've approved. I know a lot of these areas, I looked up the current zoning, a lot of these are zoned industrial right now. They weren't on the original map, but they're already zoned industrial. So in a way, it's not that dramatically different. There may be coded industrial as it is, but by calling it this, what you're calling it, that opens up a whole new world that people aren't comfortable with, they're not familiar with. So maybe I'd like to hear what some of the commissioners think, but I think that if we can amend this AML category to be a little more conservative, I think we can approve a plan, a very plan tonight.
Are you going to make a motion?
I made the motion to include the one AML that this commission has approved,
Okay, I didn't hear you.
and my edits.
That's already been included.
Okay,
Okay.
then the one AML.
Okay. Nell has made a motion to reduce the AMLs except for the one at 10, 8, 8, and 12. Is that correct? Okay, do I have a second?
There are two AMLs that are approved in Tammany Parish. There is one in Lacombe, and there's the one at 1088 and I-12.
Okay.
But even the ones that are shown, we'll go back to what was discussed earlier. Oh, where is that? Oh, the Medline site? That's not Medline. Oh, the one was Medline. Just because it's shown, and I know people disagree, they can disagree, fine. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. And no, you know as well, anybody that comes in has to come back to zoning. That property is not zoned AML because it's shown on this map. It's shown as a use, and it's something that can identify an area in case a developer wanted to come residential. It might tell them, hey, this might end up being somewhat of an industrial site in the future. You might want to look elsewhere, whether that's another parish or down the road. So while it's not even a placeholder, it's just something that will have to be, dwelled into deeper, as Ross pointed out. So I just want to make it known, there are only 3 currently zoned AML sites in the parish, which are somewhat industrial in use. But if anybody doesn't know, AML is advanced manufacturing and logistics, which advanced, in my opinion, means a much cleaner way to manufacture a thing than things have been done in the past. But I just want to clarify that. There are 3 currently zoned in the
Okay,
parish.
well, maybe we go with the 3, but I'm just.
And you saying go with the 3, we have gone with the 3, that's where we are. And if someone comes in front of us next month and wants a 4th one, we have to approve it in zoning. We had
I
ability.
see more than 3 on the map.
That's a scenario that could happen or a place where it could happen, but they have to come to us for zoning. You just don't approve it. This body doesn't have to approve it, and I think we've agreed tonight that the 3 that are in place now is enough for now. We don't even have one built yet. So to Russ's point, what does it even look like and how does it influence parish is something I think we have to let happen. And then as a commission can sit back and look at it as well as with the citizenry and figure out, did it work well, did it not? How can it be approved upon? Or we simply don't approve them anymore. We don't have to approve them in the parish.
I stick with my amendment.
I would just like to be clear on what that amendment is. You're trying to modify the land use map. We don't have another land use map to look at, so it's very unclear exactly what we're going to be modifying. I think it may be more appropriate if you want to do that, to do a motion to postpone, to get with staff and come up with a modified land use map to present as a proposal that other people might be ready to vote tonight. But I think that just making an oral motion to amend those sections that are labeled as manufacturing logistics could be problematic to do by oral amendment tonight. So I just wanted to make that suggestion.
I'm not sure. If we have 3 approved on the books, why can't those 3 be, can I make an amendment that we include the AMLs that have already been approved?
But you're comparing a zone map. You're comparing a zoning map to a future land use map. They're not the same thing. And that's where the problems are going to exist, and that's going to give the staff problems. So that's why I think we need to make it very clear, and that's why I think if you're going to make an amendment, it should be something that's presented on paper for all of the commissioners to consider. And the public as well, of course.
Okay.
Well, I'll just say one thing to Commissioner McInnes. I think the issue be, what would you put in place of the AMLs that you're willing to amend right now? That's, I think, the problem with legal and for the staff. You're saying you don't want it to be AML. What would it be? We'd have to have a different map to use to approve if you wanted to do it that way this evening.
It could be
There is no,
current zoning.
then that defeat the entire purpose of this process. Then you'd be back to the 2025 plan that did work.
Yeah. Now, while you're speaking to Ken, I'm going to go to Seeger. Commissioner Seeger.
Mr. Chairman, I'll call for a vote.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
No, you can't.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Crawford?
Had a question. So I agree with everything that's been said, in principle thus far. Ken talked about he'd like to see a little less AL than is here, but we also need to get something done, and Commissioner Fitzmaurice said this is the plan, guide for us to work off of. Ms. McInnes, I agree with her as to how do we modify this thing, and that's the question I have is, and maybe this is for Ross or one. If we approve this tonight, because I'm all in favor of getting something done. I think this is a good plan. I think it's had a lot of work put into it by Matt and his team. Made a lot of headway in the last couple of months because it was a backbone, and it seems like it's kind of come to roost a little bit, and it's got some meat in it. But my question is, I think there's some things that a lot of us might want to reduce on this map, and I agree with you, the map is important. So what would be, after tonight, if we vote on this and it was affirmative, what would be the amendment process?
Yep, so what you could do is take a vote. If it's approved, then you could immediately ask staff to begin looking at the sub-area plan that's denoted on the future land use map, which is this area for the manufacturing and logistics. If you were to adopt this plan tonight, staff would not start using this plan for a couple months because we have things in the pipeline already. We're running reports, we have applications in, so we're still using 2025 for a couple months based on our workload and our backlog. So let's just say, as the council did for the short-term rental, it took 4 or 5 months, whatever it was, to then be a document that is used. So you could say, and I'm just talking out loud here, legal may have some other, opinion on it, but Ross, this is good, y'all did a good job, good enough, let's see how it votes and passes. Okay, starting at that area again, come back in July, start at 5 o'clock again or so, and present us a new map based on research and analysis for us to consider. And then you could replace future land use map with an amended version based on asking staff to do so and to put time and effort into it.
Okay, and that's a good answer, and I think we all understand that process. Just like Nell said, the one thing that I really don't want to get into is we approve this, this is our plan, and if for some reason there's a lot of AML there that may not agree with, we'd like to see it a little smaller, don't want to see zoning cases come up that say your 2040 plan says this is supposed to be AML, and then we have to sit there. Of course, we don't have to vote for it. We can always vote against it, and that's our prerogative. But it would be nice if this map was as close of a guide as we could get it, and I think we need a few iterations to get to that point. Matt, you have a comment? Mr. Chairman, can Matt speak?
If I may, and I'm reluctant to try to diminish the influence or the authority that this body of work has, but I do want to be fully clear about the consistency requirements that tend to put handcuffs to decision makers in certain communities. For instance, Jefferson Parish, Orleans Parish have what are called consistency requirements. By law, those planning commissions and those parish councils are required to make decisions that are consistent with their future land use maps. St. Timothy Parish does not have that. The reason why Orleans Parish has it is because voters in 2008 passed a bond referendum, a charter amendment that gave the future land use map and their comprehensive plan the force of law, which means that by law, council can approve any kind of zoning change unless it's consistent with the future land use map. St. Timothy Parish, again, does not have a consistency requirement, which is not, I'm not trying to say you've got a green light to just ignore it, but what it means, though, is that legally, though, the parish council, the planning commission is not legally required to make decisions that are consistent with the map. So it's right, exactly.
No, I certainly understand what you're saying.
I hate to try to diminish it, but
this
you know what?
plan
It's
is a guide.
Yeah, it's a guide.
It's a
exactly.
guide.
It's a place to begin from rather than end at. I would say.
Right.
Just the way when you build a house, you have a site, you hire an architect to do a watercolor rendering of what your house to look like. You're not going to build the house. You're not going to give the watercolor rendering to a contractor and say build this. You're going to give them actual blueprints, right, and actual physical designs that are based on further investigation. And so to extend that analogy, you know, think of the future land use map as the watercolor, big picture, high-level guide. Think of the zoning code and the permits that are given through the zoning code as those actual specific construction plans that actually determine the specifics.
I understand that. I think a couple of us at least would appreciate seeing this modified to some extent, not necessarily tonight, but certainly in the short run, over the next month or two, into something that then, when it does come across, and this is what your plan says, we're on board with it, we understand it. End of my comments.
Okay, Commissioner Barcelona?
For us, the per manufacturing areas, they weren't just included in this plan recently, right?
No, they were at least a month ago, potentially, can't remember. I mean, we have so many maps that we've done, 2 months ago. 2 months.
I thought I saw from January
we have so many iterations of map. I mean, it could go back to January, or at least it goes back 2 months, which would be what, March?
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, give or take, I didn't do search. I've been in meetings all day. But if you have in front of you that's dated January,
Okay.
hey, look.
So the purple areas were available for public comment. I guess that's what I'm asking during
Yeah,
the
with this whole
public
process
hearing.
for the past 18 months has been nothing but.
No, it's up until April
Yeah,
1st.
That's correct.
So it started probably February, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, working backwards, you're correct. Yeah, good
Okay.
point.
So it's not like this was just added.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's it.
Commissioner Riss?
Yeah, last thing, I like the idea of being able to come back later if we wanted to fix this map a little bit. I don't know that it has to hold up as long as I feel like this mission is open to further looking at the map as we go. I think it makes sense. I think I hear that from, but I don't think we can get it done tonight, and I don't see any reason not to move forward knowing that we can. I mean, I think it's just probably, as Mr. Seeger said, it's time to vote.
Okay, is there anything else, Ken? Okay, Commissioner McInnes?
I agree with I'm going to hold you to it, Ross. In July, we'll be
Okay,
we'll be looking at the map, so I will withdraw the proposed amendment.
okay, Commissioner Randolph?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not to reiterate everything that has been said, because we're on a pendulum, and I think we have exhausted a lot of information. We've received a lot of information, and I do agree with Mr. Seeger. We need to go on and vote.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Seeger, any other comment? Okay, all right, we have a motion and a second to approve the plan that we have discussed tonight. Please vote. Barcelona.
Mr. Barcelona?
Just as it is.
The motion to approve carries.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, this meeting on the New Direction 2040 is adjourned. We will reconvene the regular planning meeting